Now, investigations have intensified to unearth the actual cause of the fatal crash. The Aircraft Accident Investigative Bureau has already reached the crash site. The Union Civil Aviation Minister held a high-level meeting with key stakeholders. The officers came from the Ministry of Civil Aviation, top officials from the DGCA, the Airports Authority of India. All of them were present in this very crucial meeting. A high-level multidisciplinary committee has also been set up. This committee will examine the causes behind the crash. The committee is being chaired by Union Home Secretary and comprises of members from the centre, the government, the state government of Gujarat and the aviation sector. All of them together will now review the existing SOPs and recommend a comprehensive measure to prevent and to manage such incidents in future. The committee will now need to submit the report within the next 3 months. The black box, which is extremely critical in crash investigations, has been recovered from the rooftop of the charred student hostel building. Along with it, the emergency locator transmitter has also been retrieved. A black box is the brain of the aircraft. It is placed at the rear near the tail of the aircraft. It records critical flight data and cockpit voices even during crashes or explosions. From the warnings that the pilot gave to the sudden change in altitude, the black box can reveal aircraft's final movements and bring out the truth. India's civil aviation body has also ordered an immediate safety audit of the entire Air India's Boeing 787 Dreamliner fleet's investigation.
Give us a sense to our viewers, as you now have had more time to digest and look at the visuals very carefully. What is this wing flap theory that you believe in some way stopped the flight from getting the necessary thrust, power and altitude?
Well, what we can observe from the video of the airplane is that, at least for the initial takeoff roll, both engines were producing sufficient thrust to go in flight. You can see that as they take off, the dirt off the side of the runways is dusting up, so they're at full power when they're taking off. They have a normal rotation. What doesn't happen after takeoff is the gear never comes up, and that would happen about 50 to 100 feet. The pilot flying would request the gear to be raised. That never happens. The aircraft shortly after that loses lift, and you could lose lift for a number of reasons. It could be a dual power loss. That's, in my mind, the least likely of the occasions, because we can see that the engines are operating fine as they do the takeoff roll. The other would be that something changed the configuration of the wing so that the flaps were not in a position to create that extra lift. If the airplane loses lift while the gear is down at that slow speed, it's going to do exactly what you saw on the video, which is it's going to begin to waddle and descend, and just you're kind of in a power on descent until it impacts the ground.
Investigations at the moment are taking place. The visuals that you are seeing on your screens are of the crash site. Now, this is the site where all the investigations are now taking place. The cranes that you see, big cranes, are now being used. These cranes are being used to remove the debris. Also, these cranes are being used to remove the tail of the aircraft which got stuck inside the hostel. So that also at the moment is now being removed. So these are big cranes which are being used. This is the crash site, the site where the crash took place. The debris now is being cleared off, and huge cranes have been pressed into action so that the debris can be cleared off. The rubble that can be seen, that rubble also is now being cleaned out. Now, in the past 11 years, 11 nightmarish plane crashes. Only twice did we see that there were survivors. But in the 9 other crashes, everyone on board on that fateful flight died. Watch this report.
When a plane crashes, rarely do any of its passengers or crew survive. In the past 11 years, in 11 nightmarish plane crashes, only twice there were survivors. But in 9 other cases, everyone on board the fateful flight died. July 2014. A Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777 with 298 people aboard took off from Amsterdam for Kuala Lumpur, but it never reached its destination. En route, it was shot down over eastern Ukraine as fighting raged between pro-Russia separatists and Ukrainian forces. The plane exploded, crashed and burnt on a flowered wheat field, killing all 298 passengers and crew on board. 28 December 2014. An Indonesian international flight from Surabaya crashed into the Java Sea on its way to Singapore. Airbus A320 crashed en route due to pilot error and a faulty rudder system during a storm, killing all 162 people on board. 24th March 2015, German airliner Airbus A320 was on its way to Düsseldorf in Germany from Barcelona in Spain, but it crashed into the French Alps midway. The co-pilot locked the captain out of the cockpit and caused the crash, killing 150 people on board. The co-pilot suffered from suicidal tendency, but he hid it from the airline's authority and continued with his assignment, causing the horrific crash. 31st October 2015. Russian carrier Metrojet crashed in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula shortly after departing Sharm el-Sheikh in northern Egypt. The Airbus A321 was headed for St. Petersburg in Russia, but the 224 on board got killed en route and never reached the destination. 29th October 2018. An Indonesian airliner crashed into the sea with 189 people on board. The Boeing 737, owned by the low-cost airline Lion Air, went down after taking off from the capital Jakarta. It was on its way to Pangkal Pinang in Indonesia. All 189 people on board were killed in the crash. 10th March 2019. A flight to Nairobi crashed in a field 6 minutes after takeoff from Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, killing all 157 passengers and crew. 8th January 2020. Iran's Revolutionary Guards shot down a Ukraine International Airlines Boeing 737-800 shortly after it took off from Tehran airport. All 176 people on board were killed. Iran's civil aviation body blamed a misaligned radar and an error by an air defense operator for the incident that never allowed the 176 people on board to reach Kiev that fateful day. 22nd May 2020. The Pakistan International Airlines was carrying 99 passengers and 8 crew from Lahore. It never reached Karachi as the Airbus A320 crashed into the Jinnah Housing Society located near the Lahore airport, killing 97 of 107 people on board. 21st March 2022. China Eastern Airline plane crashed in China's Guangxi province on its way to Guangzhou. The Boeing 737-800 took off from Kunming with 132 on board. All of them were killed in the crash. 9th August 2024. A passenger plane carrying 62 people crashed outside Sao Paulo in the afternoon. The Brazilian airliner was on its way to Guarulhos city from Cascavel. All 62 people on board were killed. And on 29 December 2024, a Boeing 737-800 crashed at Muan International Airport in South Korea. The flight operated by Jeju Airlines was hit by a bird. Landing gear deployment failed and collision with a runway barrier killed 179 of 181 on board. The flight from Bangkok had reached its destination in Muan County and was about to land when the incident happened and the flight crashed.